Today is January the 6th. Happy New Year. Today is January the 6th. Monday. My name is Jordan Mosley. This is my co-host,
Stephen Untie.
This is the UntiedJordans, episode 9. We're almost at the 10th anniversary. We're doing that. We're that petty. So yeah.
Of course, we're that petty. Week 2, I was ready to do a 1 week anniversary. Honestly, I thought we missed an opportunity there.
Facts. Speaking of anniversaries, the opposite of an anniversary is a divorce. The Dallas Cowboys recently divorced themselves from one of the favorite sons of the Dallas Cowboys over, in my opinion, at least the last 17 to 20 years. Jason Garrett came in as a Princeton guy, drafted as I think he was an undrafted guy, ended up being their backup quarterback for a very, very long time in the Troy Aikman years. Very well known for his start on Thanksgiving. I think Thanksgiving of 95 or 96 against Green Bay when he had a relatively good game in Dallas Stadium. I think it was a snow game, if I'm not mistaken. Could be wrong, but he's been he didn't have his contract renewed by the Dallas Cowboys. And with that being said, Mike McCarthy, the former Green Bay Packers head coach, is now the head coach in Dallas. So he is the very first head coach in the history of the NFL to coach both the Dallas Cowboys and the Green Bay Packers, which are number 1 and number 2 respectively in all-time franchise wins by NFL franchises.
Just bouncing off the Mike McCarthy point, I liked him early on in Green Bay, but I thought he got monotonous with his play calling, and he didn't kind of change with the times. With all the crossing routes and the rub routes, he kind of just wanted to go one-on-one and, your guy give Aaron Rodgers a foot. Well, when our receivers got a little older, we weren't able to do that no more, and it showed a flaw in his game plan, I think. But at the same time, I think he's a perfect coach for them. Someone brought this up earlier. He never had control over the roster in Green Bay. It was always Ted Thompson or Mike Murphy or Mark Murphy. So I think that'll be a similar dynamic with Jerry Jones and Stephen Jones running the personnel side of the things, while Mike McCarthy is just a head coach, and I think he's good at that role. I think it's a decent fit.
I think the selection is good. I think that we're going to get a chance to see Mike McCarthy be a quarterback whisperer again, because that was a very short-lived type of role that he had in Green Bay. He got a hold of a young Aaron Rodgers, but then Aaron Rodgers became Aaron Rodgers, so it was like that was irrelevant. But you're dealing with a guy in Dak Prescott right now who definitely needs a quarterback whisperer style of head coach, which you have in Mike McCarthy, and then you just have Aaron Rodgers potentially as a resource now to be able to reach out to him to see how I can go about best comfortably dealing with him, because before it got sour in Green Bay with McCarthy and Rodgers, it was really, really good, even to the point of them winning a Super Bowl against and beating the Pittsburgh Steelers down in Dallas. How ironic is that?
Multiple MVPs. He can get Dak to that level if, like you said, Dak's willing to take the coaching, and I think he is. He seemed to be a very coachable guy.
I personally don't see Dak Prescott being a multiple MVP caliber quarterback just because he's Dak Prescott. I think he's very mediocre. The Washington Redskins, they've hired Ron Rivera as their head coach. Jack Del Rio will accompany him as the defensive coordinator. Ron Rivera, as we all know, he was formerly the three-time, I want to say he's a three-time NFL Coach of the Year. Three-time, not NFL Coach of the Year, but he's an NFL Coach of the Year, and he's also a 3-time division champion of the NFC South with the Carolina Panthers. He was their Super Bowl, he was a Super Bowl 50 head coach for those guys, and he's also coming to the Washington Redskins, if I'm not mistaken, with a player pedigree. If I'm not mistaken, Ron Rivera was a Pro Bowler for the Skins. So that's pretty cool to see a guy like that come back and be able to come back into the mix for a team in the NFC. So it's another big time move in the NFC East as far as that division goes. It's another big move, and I really personally feel it because he's got guys like Josh Norman, who's still a relatively better than most corner in the NFL, and he's from what Josh Norman had to say about it earlier last week, he's definitely a leader of men. He's definitely a motor of men, So I definitely feel like it's a really, really great situation for the Washington Redskins, seeing as they have so much loaded defensive personnel as is now.
That's what I was going to bring up. They got Montez Sweat last year, and then they had Jonathan Allen the year before that.
Right.
They'll probably add another defensive lineman, seeing as they have their quarterback, running back, all that kind of stuff. Semi-lockdown. I think with Ron coming in there, if they will commit to Adrian Peterson, they can be, I know this doesn't sound like a lot, but a 6 or 7 win team next year, I think, even with Dwayne Haskins or Keenum at quarterback, which I think they'll upgrade that in the offseason too. But
upgrade what, the quarterback position?
Yeah, just a little bit. I just think Dwayne needs another year or two to sit. He didn't play a lot at Ohio State.
I feel like the upgraded quarterback has already taken place with the acquisition of Dwayne Haskins, but by the same token, you'll upgrade your backup. I don't think Case Keenum will be a backup for the Washington Redskins next year.
He was brought in to be the starter too. So
true, but he's a serviceable journeyman in the NFL, so that equals backup in my opinion. But by the same token, I also feel like here's a name that I throw out there, and I don't know if he's retired or not. Derek Anderson. If you remember, he was he was really Pro Bowl almost caliber quarterback after his backup time in Carolina when he did get a year to start in Cleveland. He was pretty good, and he's a Ron Rivera backup, career backup for Ron Rivera in Carolina. So we'll see.
I think he retired from the Panthers after last season, but
I wouldn't disagree with that because he was with Cam for the last few years. Like they kind of had like a relationship, like that was like within the quarterback room. So I'm pretty sure you're right, but we'll double check on that. Jumping straight into the playoff review from this past weekend. I think we've seen what a lot of people in sports media and a lot of people that are sports fans, NFL fans, Patriots fans think as the changing of the guard in sport. I'm a 1990 baby. The most dominant player the most dominant player on a run with a single team I saw lose this past weekend in my lifetime. So I think that's a pretty cool changing of the guard. Tom Brady in the loss that he took to the Tennessee Titans with Derrick Henry having 186 yards, and my boy did call it. So I think he had 186 yards rushing on like 34 carries.
I mean, they did what they need. They controlled the clock. They handed it to their guy. Watching him play now. After I think it was week 13 last year, he flipped the switch. He's a totally different runner than he was at the beginning of his career, and you can see the way he puts his head down now. I mean, even if it's a 3-yard run, it was supposed to be a negative yard run. He's gotten to the point where he figured out how to lean forward on guys at the end of runs. He's figured out how to finish. And with a guy that size and that talented, he's the national all-time high school record rusher.
12,000 plus yards in high school.
2,200 yards at Alabama is still an SEC record. The dude is ultra talented. He's Darren McFadden that took roids for 6 years.
I feel like he's Darren McFadden plus a guy like
Earl Campbell.
No, not so much Earl Campbell because he's not that violent when he runs the ball. Earl Campbell was ridiculously violent when he ran the ball, but he to me is who was the guy that you just compared him to?
Earl Campbell?
No, before that.
Oh, Darren McFadden.
If Darren McFadden and Jerome Bettis had a baby,
that's perfect.
It would be.
It's perfect, man.
Because he's got that thick stoutness, but he's got the height like McFadden, but he's got the thickness like Jerome Bettis, but he's got the athletic and he
gets in the open field.
And he has exactly like Darren McFadden, like the long term, like the long distance speed.
Long strides.
Speaking of long distance and consistency. I think that'll be what Deshaun Watson will be for the Houston Texans for a very long time.
Oh, we talked about this on the way in here. I think he's my pick for MVP next year.
That kid's a damn beast. Just putting that out there.
Earlier against the Raiders this year, he gets kicked in the eye. Not just like get kicked in the helmet. He gets kicked in the eye and throws a touchdown.
Full speed kicked in the eye with a cleat.
And then yesterday, he's getting spun around 3 times and rolls out and throws a perfect dime for, I think it was a 46-yard pass.
Right.
In overtime, set them up for the game-winning field goal. I don't think people understand what we're seeing with he's not as talented as Mahomes. He's not as fast as Lamar Jackson. But he's this amalgamation of I throw as good as Holmes almost, and I almost run as good.
I feel like this. I gotta stop you there for a second because we flowing at the moment with this review. But I will say this because I'm not gonna go too far off. But Deshaun Watson is just as talented of a passer as Patrick Mahomes, with a little bit more mechanical sound to his game, meaning that he's more mechanically inclined. In my personal opinion, that's just my opinion. It's just my opinion.
I think he throws kind of weird, honestly, but it works. And he's a gamer.
I think he looks weird the way he throws because he doesn't have like a traditional keep your tie on. You know what I mean?
He throws a little under
follow through, take a dollar out of the pocket. He's more kind of like a slinger, if you will. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah.
But with that being said, speaking of quarterback play. Russell Wilson, but even more specific, DK Metcalf, the number 1 receiver yesterday against my Eagles. So DK had
160 yards, 7 catches.
7 catches, 164 yards.
And a
Rookie
touchdown.
record and a touchdown. Rookie record by the most playoff receiving yards ever by a rookie.
Did not look like a rookie. The way the guy, how big he is, just it baffles me every time I've seen it. And I think I've seen it once a week since he started playing.
I agree. A quick score run from Saturday, guys, for all my Vegas people out here just wondering maybe on the back end. Houston beat Buffalo 22-19. Tennessee beat the Patriots 20-13. The Minnesota Vikings beat the New Orleans Saints 26-20. We'll get to that in a second. And my Philadelphia Eagles tripping yesterday.
It's
Seattle Seahawks, they beat us 17-9.
The Eagles lost the war of attrition this year.
Carson Wentz should have threw the ball yesterday away. He would not have got driven to the ground by Jadeveon Clowney. I'm not mad at you, Jadeveon. I'm not mad at that. Sign a diehard 23-year senior Eagles fan. I'm not mad at that at all. You got to play. You got to do your job there, dog. I'm not mad at that, my boy. I'm not mad at that at all.
I mean, it was a rough game to watch, kind of. It was very defensive oriented. The Seahawks defense just shut them down. What I did love about these playoff games, though, all of them came down to one possession, which we don't see very often, man. It was a real exciting weekend of football.
And more specifically, not only did a lot of these games come down to one possession, they came down to big calls.
Oh, absolutely.
Big time calls. By the way, let's look at how that works in microcosm in two different microcosms on two different extremes of the same weekend. Buffalo, that was a correct referee call that didn't lose y'all the game. Josh Allen lost y'all the game with that monkey shit he pulled on the last like back end of the game as far as like the end of the third quarter going into the fourth quarter. By the same token, when you look at the call that didn't get called against Minnesota, maybe that's a ticky-tack. Now, granted, I play offense, so I definitely wouldn't have wanted that call made.
For sure.
Don't get me wrong, I'm a center, so I get you, Kyle Rudolph, but I would have liked for that to have been and be able to maybe have been a better review. Like they said they were going to review it, and then you look up and then like the final scores popping across the final.
I saw that too.
Popping up across the screen like, okay, somebody with enough clout had an opportunity to make a decision by themselves, stand alone, and then just tell the whole world that that's the end of the game. Like you don't even respect the fact of a replay that's shown on TV that you replayed it. That was really
It was like 20 seconds, and there's never a quick replay in the NFL. So I was just, what is going on here?
Wholeheartedly, I agree.
And of course, everyone's going to talk about the Saints' second year in a row getting knocked out off a bad call.
Right.
And it's not necessarily I think it's a bad call. In real time, I can see that going either way.
Right.
But my whole thing is if you're going to make up this pass interference rule where we're going to review plays and if it is pass interference, we're going to throw the flag. What they did is they put this word egregious in this rule. So if it's not absolutely crazy, I think we've only seen 4 reversed all year. Two of them, guys straight up got tackled before the ball got there.
Right, I agree.
In my opinion, Kyle Rudolph has full extension on the, I think it was the safety.
It was a corner, P.J. Williams, because he was flanked out. He was
Okay.
flanked out. He was flanked out at the X.
Yeah, and he threw the fade. I think he pushed off. I think it was full extension. I think if you review that, you got to throw the flag because by the rule, it is pass interference.
Right. I can go for that.
But I understand. I would prefer if they just got rid of the rule and then let the refs fuck it up or get it right, and then we can discuss it later on. We can talk about how it's a bad call or a good call.
Well, what we've noticed from this, what I feel like we've noticed from this, people, is the fact that the NFL found another way to create more media hype.
Oh, absolutely. Great at it.
Let's make the NFL referee, like, let's put him in the game now, and then let's make money. Let's be advantageous to his human error.
It's like they do this.
That shit is something. That's hell.
It's like they do this every couple of years. Like 5-6 years ago, we had they implement the contact to the head rule.
Right.
That changed everything for defenses. No more spearing, no more targeting.
That changed football, period.
Oh, absolutely.
Because it brought along the targeting rule.
And it is allowed, because people were still in that transition phase of
Right.
people learning how to tackle again the
Right.
correct way. It's made tackling these last couple of years a little suspect. And then we had the pass interference rule change. What was the other one I was thinking? Now it's just going to go right. Oh, catching the ball.
Yeah.
That was what the controversy was for the last 3 years.
But they got that right on the back end. You haven't had a discrepancy in a catch in so long since the Des Bryant situation.
Des catch.
They did really good. They kudos to the NFL for that one. But if you're one,
I think they messed this one up.
If you're looking at all three, you're 33%. You're one.
Yeah.
I agree with you. John Dorsey's out in Cleveland. this is not really worth mentioning, but it is. But the reason why it is so much worth mentioning is because of the fact that John Dorsey he wasn't Olivier Vernon, Sheldon Richardson, Baker Mayfield, Jarvis Landry, Odell Beckham Jr., Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt, the re-signing of Joel Bitonio, the very, very classy retirement process of Joe Thomas, getting back a first-round draft pick in return for Alex Mack, Myles Garrett, Denzel Ward, Demarius Randall from the Packers. I could go on, like Joe Schobert, Christian Kirksey, like all of the Greedy Williams, all of these things took place because of John Dorsey being the GM of Cleveland. But the reason why he's not there anymore is because whoever this coach is that they got that's going to end up being there is going to end up being in a space to where he's going to be the guy that they want to see dealing with what they're dealing with and have going on what they have going on. Basically saying is, like, if a head coach comes in, I want my own GM. So John Dorsey, by default, you're out. So that's how that works.
How hard do you think Jim Haslam, the owner of the Browns right now, is going after Lincoln Riley in Oklahoma?
He's not. He's going after. Really? He really wants Urban Meyer to come home and coach the team of his state, of his home state, and I think it makes a ton of sense.
I agree. All I mean is because of Baker's relationship,
especially with the fact that Urban Meyer is a leader. He's a great leader of divas. He's a great leader of people who have a certain type of public light in comparison to your peers. Who am I speaking of? Tim Tebow.
Yeah, I was about to say.
The guy handled the Tim Tebow situation in Florida. If he can handle Tim Tebow in Florida, he could definitely handle Odell Beckham Jr.
And not just Tebow, man. That team was full of superstars.
But just one.
No, I know what you mean.
On that level, facts. But yeah.
But that's the greatness of Urban Meyer. He only allowed the Jesus of college football to be in the spotlight. He said Tim Tebow is obviously our best player, and he might be our best person as well.
This is one thing I'll say about this, because a very good friend of mine who was a starting left tackle on all three of those teams for Urban and Tim Tebow, he gave me a personal rundown of this 6 years ago at the NFL Super Regional. I won't name a name, but first of all, Urban Meyer doesn't really give a damn about Tim Tebow as far as the whole like flashiness behind it all. First of all, second of all, Urban Meyer felt like to a particular degree his success was going to take place whether Tim Tebow was there or not, because people forget Tim Tebow wasn't even going to go to Florida. He was going to go to the University of Alabama, and then they got him to flip at the very last moment for reasons that I won't get into on this show. Beyond that,
he also had Chris Leak before him and Cam Newton following him, so
exactly.
It wasn't like he was going to be absent of
Urban
a
Meyer
great
didn't
quarterback.
give a damn about Tim Tebow. Urban Meyer wanted to coach Cam Newton. That's why I wouldn't be surprised if Urban Meyer ends up popping up in Carolina, because Urban Meyer recruited Cam Newton. Remember that, people. Y'all forgot about that. But yeah, so
I believe he called him one of the greatest football players he'd ever seen.
That's what I'm saying. So with that being said, I feel like, Tebow puts himself in a position. I mean, not Tebow, but Urban Meyer puts himself in a position of being able to deal with guys who are big time divas in relation to the rest of your population, of your locker room. That's just basically what we're getting at with that. A couple of little small tidbit pieces, I guess, of news. In relation to the Saints, Steve Gleason, who blocked the punt when they reopened the Superdome after the Katrina against the Atlanta Falcons, almost 10 years ago now, 10 plus years. Well,
12 years ago.
Yeah, 12 years ago, exactly, like 08, 09, something like that. He's receiving the Congressional Gold Medal on the 15th of January, so that's really good. That's really, really dope. Kudos to him. Kyle Long, the offensive guard, three-time Pro Bowl offensive guard for the Chicago Bears, has decided to step away from football, not necessarily retire, but he's saying he's trying to, quote-unquote, get his body back into a shape where he can potentially play and visit the game that he loves again. Xavier Howard, who was
Kyle Long's going to be in the media. His brother Chris Long and his dad Howie Long are both in there. I think that's why he's retiring. He's going to get that started earlier.
From the fact that I know a friend that knows Kyle Long really, really personally, because they played together
at Saddleback
College. Because of the fact they played together at Saddleback College out in California, Kyle Long doesn't really have anything to do with television. But we'll see. With that being said, like I'm saying, Xavier Howard, $75 million corner. He's the highest paid corner in the NFL. And he just got into a domestic dispute with his wife down in Miami last week. As of 12:15 Eastern Time, Tua Tagovailoa has decided to declare for the NFL Draft. Most people have him as the second best quarterback in the class, coming out behind Joe Burrow. Me, myself, personally, just saying a little bit on this because I was going to get to this on the back end, but I guess it's just noteworthy enough to drop right now. Really, really terrible decision. A decision where if Tua Tagovailoa doesn't make it in the NFL as a quarterback, and let me be clear, let me stop, and let me rephrase, and let me restart this comment first. Tua's a great player. I'm not a fan of him. I think he's an amazing athlete. I think he's an amazing talent. But at the end of the day, this is a decision that if he doesn't make it in the NFL, he will remember this day and think, I definitely wanted to put myself in a position to being able to do what I need to do. So,
and I think I actually disagree a little bit. I think it's the right call. Any time that you're projected to go top 10, I think you should go just because of the money. And I guess that's me growing up a little bit on the poor side. But Tua, the injury is what bothers me. It's not the ankle or the knee, it's the hip. That's a big deal. That's what ended Bo Jackson's career. It's ended a couple of big names. It's ended a lot.
That pelvic wall and that pelvic wall fracture was not the same pelvic wall fracture that Bo Jackson had. That was the very first tidbit of media that came out behind that, by the way.
Oh yeah, I know. I was just saying for like you're saying, he's a dynamic athlete. One of his best qualities, I think, similar to Russell Wilson, is his being able to escape out of the pocket. And that's a twitch quick, especially the moving your feet quickly. And that range of motion can be affected by the hip injuries.
All I'll say is this, because the fact I play the game for a living, like, sport medicine for the common athlete is more advanced today than it has ever been before. So because of that, I feel like that is one of the reasons why if Tua Tagovailoa finds success in the NFL, then that's why he will find the success he's looking for. But this has to have something to do with money and the fact of the money he can make on the front end. I'm sorry. It has to do something with that. Because there's no way he should be coming out. But whatever. I'm not mad at him. I mean, I don't know. I'm not an Alabama fan. I don't really care about Tua Tagovailoa. I think he's great. I don't think he's even. I feel like the best quarterback in our draft this upcoming year is going to be playing in a few days down in New Orleans, and I can't wait to watch him play. So that's just kind of my personal take on that. But I just feel like he should have came back to school, But it is what it is. That being said. Richie Incognito, 2-year, $14 million extension with the Raiders, so he's pretty much brought himself back full circle, 180-degree turn back into being in the good graces of the NFL and having somewhere to live, a place to play, and being able to be in a spot where he has a coach who's definitely going to want to go to bat for him, because apparently from what they're saying out of Oakland, John Gruden loves and Richie Incognito and vice versa, so that's pretty cool. He's
a very tough-nosed player like John Gruden likes,
right.
And a great person for Josh Jacobs to follow for the next couple of years.
I definitely agree with that. Him and Gabe Jackson is one of the most underrated offensive guard combinations in the league.
Absolutely.
Bruce Allen is out in Washington. He was the team president for over 15 years. He did a lot of stupid shit, and he did a lot of really, really dumb stuff in Washington. But the thing of it is, the number one thing that got Bruce Allen out of Washington is the fact of how he mishandled the Trent Williams injury situation. Trent Williams was thought that just the fact that he had a concussion. Ended up coming out he had a brain tumor, and then it was incorrectly diagnosed by the Washington Redskins. So not only did Bruce Allen get fired, but their head trainer of 17 years also got fired last week, along with Bruce Allen on the same day. So with Bruce Allen leaving, left a bad trainer that I've also had personal friends of mine who have played with the Redskins and tried out for the Redskins and been to camp with the Redskins and say that their medical staff is really, really iffy out there. So that'll be really, really good for the Redskins. And I think we'll see a new day for the Redskins because Bruce Allen is gone. And period.
Bruce Allen tied with Vince McMahon for the reddest face in sports history.
Every
time I've seen that dude on TV, man, he looks like he's about to have a stroke.
I don't know. I mean, dealing with Dan Snyder, then I can go for that.
Oh no, I probably would have too.
Facts. Christian McCaffrey, he was named a first-team AP All-Pro at the running back and all-purpose positions. He was a dual unanimous vote. I have a bone to pick. This is my 2 cents. Surprise. My 2 cents of the day is to Pat Kerwin from Sports Illustrated, first of all. Second of all, Pat Kerwin and Jim Miller from XFL Sirius NFL Radio, first of all. And also to Bill Polian of ESPN. Shame on you. Because you are the 3 people who allowed Lamar Jackson to be held back from being a first-team All-Pro quarterback unanimously. That's 50 out of 50 votes. Y'all 3 people need to stop being some damn haters, and y'all need to vote for the unanimous. Who I should feel should be the unanimous MVP, and it's easily proved this year. You should have been the unanimous AP first-team All-Pro quarterback. Once again, Pat Kerwin, formerly of Sports Illustrated, now with Sirius NFL Radio. Jim Miller, ex-NFL quarterback, lifetime backup with the Chicago Bears. and Bill Polian, who's been known to hate on brothers who can ball. Stop hating on brothers who can ball, Bill Polian. I don't mind telling you that on the radio. Stop doing that, brother. It's not cool.
Maybe Russell Wilson, but the way he played the last 6 weeks of the season, I don't know how you vote for anyone else but Lamar Jackson.
Bill Polian.
This year.
I thought you were talking about Bill Polian. I'm leaving alone.
Oh no! I mean, it's just he outplayed everybody by so far this year. I mean, not just with the crazy running stats. He led the league in touchdown passes.
At the end of the day, all three of these guys voted for Russell Wilson. Let me explain to you why those three guys are definitely in the old boys club somewhere over there. Jim Miller and Pat Kerwin have Russell Wilson on their show all the time. First of all, this is a quote, documented proof. And secondly, with Bill Polian also feels like Russell Wilson is the best quarterback in the NFL. He's getting his MVP vote. Bill Polian has already said he's going to vote for Russell Wilson for the MVP. So he won't even get the unanimous MVP because Bill Polian's a hater. Stop hating on Lamar Jackson.
He did.
Man?
It's like he hated, and I get the hating at the beginning when you're a draft prospector. That's your job, is to say, hey, I like this about this guy, I don't like this. But now that you're obviously wrong, kowtow a little bit. You know what I mean? Go back and say, hey, this take on Lamar Jackson was wrong. He is not a wide receiver. He's not a running back. He's a quarterback.
We just gonna move forward, man. Bill Polian don't get that much time on my podcast. Period. I don't talk about Bill Polian on my damn
podcast. And McCaffrey, I think, is the second person to win at two positions. Khalil Mack was the other one. Actually won an outside linebacker and defensive end.
In second last year. Second last year in Oakland. Fact. Well, yeah, I think 2 years after he did that in Oakland. Eddie Jackson is the highest paid safety in football. But Chicago Bears safety from the University of Alabama, who's also known as the Washington Redskins defense because they got everybody from Alabama in their defense now. He had 60 tackles and 2 interceptions this year. But the year that made him money, he had 89 tackles, 6 forced fumbles, 2 fumble recoveries, 2 defensive touchdowns, and 6 interceptions in that year. That was 2 years ago for the Chicago Bears as a rookie, if I'm not mistaken. Balled out.
That was last year, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was last year. That was the second year's Bears.
They went 12-4 last year. That's the only reason I hate the Bears. So.
Facts. I know you know about the Bears, so I ain't.
You study the enemy.
Facts. 3,296 by the numbers. That's the amount of rushing yards that the Baltimore Ravens ran up this year. They broke the record of the 73 New England Patriots, who was led by John Hanna, who I mentioned on the show before last, was one of the top 100 offensive linemen to ever be one of the top 100 all-time team NFL offensive linemen. So it was really, really dope that happened. And let me shout out Ronnie Stanley, an All-Pro, Marshall Yonder, a Pro Bowler, who also should have been, who's probably a second or third team All-Pro. I have the first team All-Pro that we're going to announce in a minute, but it's only the first team that I'm announcing. So Marshall Yonder, Bradley Bozeman, Dan Skura, injured-wise, and like I said, and then Ronnie Stanley and Orlando Brown Jr. So a big shout-out to the Ravens offensive line. You guys are now the best offensive line for one season to ever play in the NFL.
In
for one season.
15 games,
guys,
too.
Kudos.
They didn't play week 17. They put all their backups in after.
Yeah, I don't even.
So I mean,
I know Marshall Yonder didn't play last week.
I think Stanley did.
Yeah, but Ronnie Stanley's he's a third-year guy to know that. He's still young, so he doesn't really.
But that's what I'm saying. It's even more impressive.
Orlando probably was still out there, both those guys.
They whooped up on the rushing record and didn't play for a week, essentially. Rested all their best players. So.
Facts. Speaking of numbers for a second, we're going to give you some stat champions from this year's NFL season. Derrick Henry had 1,540 yards. Jameis Winston had 5,109 yards. He also was the first quarterback to be in the 30-30 club. That's 30 touchdowns and 30 interceptions. Tre'Davious White, Anthony Harris of the Minnesota Vikings, and Stephon Gilmore all tied for the NFL league with 6 interceptions. Mike Thomas broke the reception record with 149 grabs. Shaq Barrett had 19.5 sacks for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Bobby Wagner had 159 tackles for the Seattle Seahawks. Michael Thomas led the league also in receiving yards with 1,725 yards. And Lamar Jackson led the league in passing touchdowns with 35.
One thing, I'm just going to throw in here, also receiving touchdowns this year was actually won by Kenny Golladay, who
was a beast this year.
I mean,
he's been a beast the last 2 years.
He's very impressive. Even more impressive, didn't have his starting quarterback for the last 13 weeks of the season or 10 weeks of the season. Not just that, I call him Kenny Answered Prayer Golladay.
I can go for that.
Because you throw it up to him anywhere near him, he seems to come down with it, man. When they get a legit quarterback, or when Stafford comes back, he's going to put up incredible numbers next year.
Here's something interesting. 2 of the top 4 passing touchdown receptionists in the NFL this year were tight ends. Mark Andrews from the Baltimore Ravens had 10. He's tied for second with Cooper Kupp, who had 10 for the LA Rams. Imagine that. Cooper Kupp is the best receiver this year for the Rams, but he's legit. He's legit as fuck, so I'm not surprised. Jared Cook was the fourth place guy. He's tied with Chris Godwin, but he's fourth on the list with 9 total touchdowns. So vertical seam route, vertical game, and the seam route with those tight ends, that's definitely the trend. That's definitely a wave that definitely is not going anywhere for sure.
Nowhere. And Andrews is a second-year player too.
Right.
So him and Lamar Jackson are going to be together for. Right. I mean, that's another position that seems that if you're good at it, you get 10 to 12 years at least.
I agree. Speaking of 10 to 12 years, a lot of Hall of Famers play 10 to 12 years, right?
Absolutely.
So we're going to go into these Hall of Fame finalists that they dropped on this past Friday.
Best ability is availability.
Exactly. The best ability is definitely availability, and you do not make the club in the tub. That's 100% true. My coach used to always say that in college. My college coach. Can't make the club in the tub by this, son. You want to know about that? Troy Polamalu, Reggie Wayne, Leroy Butler, inventor of the Lambeau Leap, Torrey Holt, Sam Mills, local Carolina Panther all-time great, Zach Thomas, Bryant Young. These are all your first-year nominees. These are all first-year nominees. This means this is their first year eligible on the ballot from the year that they retired. Once again, Polamalu, Reggie Wayne, Leroy Butler, Torrey Holt, Sam Mills, Zach Thomas of the Miami Dolphins, and Bryant Young, number 97 from the San Francisco 49ers for a very, very long time. That's what I'm talking about with Bryant Young. Some of the people don't know who that is. These are guys who are multiple-year ballot guys now who should definitely, I think, some of these names, they need to get in. Like, Steve Atwater should be in this year. Tony Boselli should be in this year. Isaac Bruce, Alan Faneca. Alan Faneca was the best offensive guard I watched as a kid for 12 straight years in the NFL. It's not even close. Played for the Pittsburgh Steelers, number 66.
This isn't his, I thought this was his first year on the ballot.
Nah, this is his second year.
Yeah, that dude should be in, for sure.
Exactly. Alan Faneca, Steve Hutchinson, another guy I watched my whole life. I watched Steve Hutchinson in college at the University of Michigan in '98 in the Rose Bowl playing left tackle for Tom Brady. Excuse me, he was playing left guard for Tom Brady because his tackle was John Runyon.
If you remember an offensive lineman from your childhood, he should probably be in the Hall of Fame.
That's what I'm saying.
And Faneca and Hutchinson,
right.
The two that we remember.
Right. Well,
Pace.
Pace, Ogden, Hutchinson, Pace, Ogden, Hutchinson, Faneca, Walter Jones, Willie Rofe. Willie Rofe is kind of, and then Larry Allen's kind of old too. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But Edgerrin James and John Lynch, who's now the GM of the 49ers as well. Richard Seymour is also on this list as a finalist for the Hall of Fame.
You know, I didn't remember, you don't remember hearing about Edgerrin James as much because he was on those Peyton Manning-led Colt teams.
I
remember
him specifically because of the fact that he was a running back on them team.
Well, I mean, but you didn't hear about him having.
I'm a big time Miami.
You didn't hear about his huge years. It was all about Peyton when you talked about the Colts. So seeing him on here, it made me go back through some of his games and through some of his highlights of his career, and it's way more impressive than you think.
I agree with you on that. Let me see. Meanwhile, let's go into the first team All-Pro. Lamar Jackson is the quarterback. Christian McCaffrey was the running back. Christian McCaffrey was also the all-purpose player. Michael Thomas and DeAndre Hopkins are your receivers. George Kittle is the tight end. Ronnie Stanley and Ryan Ramczyk of the New Orleans Saints. Ronnie Stanley of the Baltimore Ravens and Ryan Ramczyk of the New Orleans Saints are your all-pro tackles. Quentin Nelson is your all-pro guard. Zach Martin is the first-team all-pro right guard again. He was an all-pro as a rookie. Zach Martin is on track to be the best offensive lineman to ever play football of all time, so just putting that out there if he keeps at this level. He's like a 4-time all-pro or 5-time all-pro at this point.
Zeke hasn't finished outside the top 5 in rushing.
Even when Zeke, man.
That's what I mean.
Zach Martin's that kid's
That's what gets you clout as an offensive lineman is when your running backs are putting up numbers like that every single year. And he's going to every single year.
I say yes and no to this because it's a such thing as being a good lineman in an offense that doesn't recognize you. That's real. That happens.
Oh, for sure.
But by the same token, Zach Martin's so good he got to get recognized every single year. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, that's what I mean. He's going to get mentioned. It's not just Zeke. You know what I mean? In a lot of
no.
Like in In Minnesota, after Hutchinson left, it was a lot of, oh, Adrian Peterson carries this team. They didn't talk about the O-line. In Dallas, they have to talk about it, like you said. You got to mention Zach Martin.
But you also had Travis Frederick and you also have Tyron Smith too, so that makes sense. The AP All-Pro defense: Chandler Jones, the Arizona Cardinals; T.J. Watt of the Pittsburgh Steelers; Aaron Donald of the L.A. Rams; Cam Hayward of the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Underrated.
Cam Hayward might be the best 3-4 defensive tackle in the
Incredible.
NFL. It used to be Geno Atkins, but he's falling off apparently. Bobby Wagner. Well, I would be willing to say Geno Atkins is on the second or third team All-Pro somewhere chilling because he's just a beast. Bobby Wagner from the Seattle Seahawks. Demario Davis, who had a great game yesterday against in a loss against the Minnesota Vikings. Eric Kendricks, who had a great day yesterday and a win against the Saints for the Minnesota Vikings. Like I said, Eric Kendricks for the Minnesota Vikings and Demario Davis for the New Orleans Saints. Stephon Gilmore for the Patriots, Tre'Davious White for the Bills, Minka Fitzpatrick for the Steelers, and Jamal Adams for the Jets. The two backup DBs were Marcus Peters and Tyrann Mathieu and Marlon Humphrey, so the three backup DBs. This is my point of why I was bringing up the back end of this. If you're a kid and you want to play college football, if you're a parent and your kid's got some SEC offers, like out of high school right now, and he ain't committed, he don't know what he's going to do, he need to go somewhere in the SEC. Preferably somewhere on the top heavy part of the SEC. Why? Because everybody except for Marcus Peters is from the SEC as an All-Pro defensive back on the first team. So if you want to be a first-team All-Pro DB, your ass need to make sure your ass or your son's ass ends up in the SEC. Period. Stephon Gilmore, South Carolina Gamecock. Tre'Davious White, LSU Tiger. Minka Fitzpatrick, Alabama Crimson Tide. Jamal Adams, LSU Tiger. Honey Badger, LSU Tiger. Marlon Humphrey, Alabama. Texas, cut it out with the DBU talk. Florida, cut it out with the DBU talk. DBU,
it's over.
The definition of a good defensive back university are guys who dominate in college and then they send groups of DBs to the NFL and they ball out. Ohio State, Alabama, LSU. I'm not having a conversation with anybody about DBU. If you're not talking about Alabama, Ohio State, or LSU, period. The special team, first team All-Pro. Big South Carolina shout out, Cordero Patterson. Tell you a quick story about me and Cordero Patterson. I scrimmaged against him in high school. He played at a high school in Rock Hill called Northwestern High School. His nickname in high school was PlayStation.
Okay.
So, PlayStation come out there. We did like a offensive play, then defensive drive. So like Northwestern touched the ball twice back-to-back plays. This is a full live scrimmage, so we do special teams as well. We kick the ball to Cordero. He takes the ball back 102 yards for a touchdown, like PlayStation joystick style. And then the very next play, he goes out, we spot the ball again on 25, 75-yard touchdown, big boy post. Like he was just like, and it was like effortless. Like he never really looked super cool out there. He had on Nike gloves. He always keep the Nike gloves on, but other than that, like he was just a dog. He's a dog-ass football player.
I didn't actually know this till a few weeks ago. He's actually second all-time on kick return touchdowns with 7. Behind Devin Hester.
Right. He's on the way to being the GOAT. Facts.
Oh,
he was the first team All-Pro kick returner.
Yeah, and he's going to be. I remember. I mean, he killed us when he was at the Vikings. Killed us at the Bears.
Right.
I mean, the dude's he's fast.
Fast. I don't know if there is a better special teamer all time than Matthew Slater. He'd have made the first team All-Pro again.
Like 10 years in a row?
I don't know. It's not too many things y'all can guarantee. There's not too many things you can guarantee when you're talking about the NFL, but one thing you can guarantee
is
seeing, not even, I wouldn't say about life, one thing you can guarantee about the NFL every single season is if Matthew Slater plays the whole 16, he's going to be an all-pro special team. That boy going to play that special team. That boy played that special team.
I looked up his stats. I was like, man, this dude's a 9-time all-pro special team. He has like 15, 20 tackles a year, but the dude makes such a huge impact. He blocks kicks. I think he had a block punt this year. He's had 2 fumble recoveries. I mean, the dude.
And by the way, his father is 20-year tenured All-Pro offensive tackle, all-time great Jackie Slater. That's Jackie Slater's kid.
Oh wow! I wouldn't be surprised if he's Belichick's favorite player ever. Honestly, he seems like a Belichick guy.
Bill Belichick has come out and said publicly that Matthew Slater is the best special team player to ever play.
He's like, do your job.
And by the way, he had the one I felt like before, a guy who coached me in New York with the Giants, a guy named Larry Izzo.
Okay.
You remember Larry Izzo? Short, kind of looked like a leprechaun in the face, kind of Larry Izzo, like hard-nosed though, very passionate coach, great coach too. Deontay Harris from the Pittsburgh Steelers, special teams, first team All-Pro punt returner. Justin Tucker was the first-team All-Pro kicker, and Brett Kern was the first-team All-Pro punter. I scratched my head last week when I said, what made Brett Punter the first-team All-Pro punter? The very last punt that Tennessee kicked to put Tom Brady on the one where he threw that pick six to Logan Ryan was a coffin corner rolling dead punt by Brett Kern. So like,
perfect.
You got my vote, big dog.
I'm not sure.
You're a dog in my eyes, big homie. You ain't got no.
If the defensive back didn't touch it, if it wouldn't have stopped, it looked so perfect.
It was
so perfect, man.
It was dead.
That's he could have made All-Pro off that kick.
One more small thing before we segue to college football / the NFL's draft / his mock draft. Drew Lock, John Elway came out about 10 days ago and said, "Hey, we're riding with Drew Lock. We're good on it. We're good on Joe Flacco. We're riding with Drew Lock. We would be stupid right now to feel like we would need to go in another direction than keeping Drew Lock as our starting quarterback going forward." So Drew Lock, wish you the best of luck. For Denver Broncos fans out here, I got a couple of good friends of mine, really good friends of mine that are Denver Broncos fans. Please understand that Von Miller swapped jerseys with the kid already. So y'all might have something, because if Von Miller think you good, you might be all right, because he does chase them down every Sunday. He chases down quarterbacks every Sunday, so you might be good. Ain't no telling.
Von Miller came out and he was in an interview and he said, "We're ready to win a Super Bowl." He said, "We're one or two pieces away. We have the quarterback, we have the running back, we have the defense."
They are. I agree. They need a solid O-lineman, one more solid O-lineman, and they need one more solid pass rusher / defensive lineman. You know what I'm saying?
Well, when Bradley Chubb comes back and Derek Wolfe maybe could stay healthy for an entire year, possibly.
I'm talking about adding somebody else to that.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. That's what I was going to say, is if you add another piece on top of that, it's dominant. I mean, it's already close to it. I don't know if people realize this, but they have Shane Ray, who's their third pass rusher.
Shane Ray is out of the NFL.
I don't know. Really?
Yeah.
I thought he was on. Okay.
Shane Ray got cut 7 weeks ago by the Baltimore Ravens. Type of football here.
Maybe I don't know who I'm thinking about then. But their third defensive end last year was Shaquille Barrett, who just led the league in sacks. Right. So I mean,
and they just let go of Brandon Marshall 2 years ago.
They obviously have a great eye for defensive pass rushers.
I agree. Speaking of pass rush. That's obviously a football term. We'll stick to this football. Let's go straight to college football. Joe Moorhead is out in Mississippi State. They say that the regions in Mississippi State say that Joe Moorhead's culture, like he was really interrupting the culture there. And it seems like for them, those boys to be living somewhere, be based somewhere like Starkville, Mississippi, they were probably having a good damn time down there, and Joe Moorhead's probably a cool-ass players coach, and they probably weren't going for that. So I don't think that that's so much of an X's and O's on the field thing. I just feel like one of the most old-fashioned, most dated states to live in the United States can't deal with a guy like Joe Moorhead, who's definitely, let's call it what it is. He's a white coach in a predominantly white, sometimes racist state. Well, it's Mississippi, so go figure. But nonetheless, he's in a state like Mississippi, and he's got great rapport with a bunch of black athletes that come there to play football. Don't nobody white be on Mississippi State football team except for the quarterback. I'm the kicker punter. I'm just saying. I got plenty of partners. Shout out my boy D Hutch, man. You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying.
And I coming from a podunk town in North Carolina, I got to imagine it's pretty similar to the boonies out in Mississippi. Right. There's not much to do. They're probably going to bonfires after the game and partying at night, and because when you live in an area like that, when it doesn't, their culture is partying. The culture is
just having a good time,
celebrating.
Figuring out how to have a good time.
Finding something to do, and usually that involves drugs or alcohol or partying. And if they don't like that culture, I think you got to find a guy like a Dungy or a Belichick or someone that's just so hardline. He's not gonna put up with any of that stuff. And like you said, it doesn't seem like he was that kind of guy.
Well, I mean, it's even guys like that are gonna come down there and say, "Hey, I gotta give these kids a chance to blow off some steam." Like, you gotta understand where we're coming from. That's why a guy like Joe Moorhead was one of the best. He was one of the top college football coaching candidates when he came out a couple years ago from the OC position at Penn State, and he went to Mississippi State, and it didn't work because he was probably a cool ass coach. Mississippi State ain't gonna win no damn games, and they got rid of a good football coach over the fact that they don't want to change their culture. They need to be ashamed of themselves, but that's just my opinion. The Sugar Bowl. The Georgia Bulldogs, they definitely hunkered down. They bit off more. They bit off as much as they could chew against them Baylor Bears. Got those Baylor Bears up out of there. Matt Rule doesn't really know what he wants to do as far as the coaching thing or not, or this, that, and the third, what have you. So we'll see. And a big shout out to Georgia's offensive line because they definitely manhandled Baylor up front without Andrew Thomas or Isaiah Wilson, who both went to the NFL. Andrew Thomas going to the NFL makes sense because he's probably going to be a top 10 pick. Isaiah Wilson, you could have afforded to make yourself a lot more money by putting together a great bowl performance on film. Just putting it out there. The Citrus Bowl, Alabama versus Michigan. Alabama wiped the floor with Michigan. Michigan need to get rid of Jim Harbaugh and just go do something different. Just go get somebody who just, I don't know, that Jim Harbaugh thing.
I missed the beginning of the game, so when I started watching it,
the very first play of the game was a 65-yard touchdown post route by Jerry Jeudy for Mac Jones.
I think it was 16-6 or 16-7.
Yep.
After that, and that's what Michigan got a lead. Mm-hmm. That's when I started watching it. I was like, okay, it's a game. I thought Alabama was going to blow them out. And then the second half started, and it was what I expected.
Right.
It was bad.
Jerry Jeudy had 6 catches for 204 yards and a touchdown.
And then declared for the draft.
In that game. Exactly. The Rose Bowl, another great Rose Bowl.
Awesome.
Oregon was only held to 37 yards rushing by, I think it ended up being like 50 yards flat because they had a few more run plays after I heard that stat live in the game. But, yeah, like 50 yards rushing. Penei Sewell, the 2019 Allen Trophy Award winner. That's the trophy for the best college football's best offensive lineman. Or best interior lineman, but usually it's an O-line award. So they held Sewell and company to 50 yards rushing, and Oregon still found a way to pull it out. And Justin Herbert had really like a crowning moment style of game. You know what I mean? He definitely.
It's a good send-off for him.
Exactly. It was definitely a great send-off for him, for sure. Him being an Oregon guy, growing up locally, being an Oregon fan, is that and third.
And my dad's from Wisconsin, huge Badger fan, so I watch them every chance I get. And that defense is nasty, man. They didn't do great against the pass, but like you said, against the run, they're so stout.
Jim Leonard.
It was awesome. It was great to watch.
People forget, Jim Leonard was a 12-year veteran NFL safety. The Jets and the Ravens, specifically, that I can think of off the top of my head. He played for somebody else, but I can't think of who. I want to say the Cardinals. Jets, Cardinals, and the Ravens. That being said, Jim Leonard got out of the NFL, went back to his alma mater, which is the University of Wisconsin. He's now, in my opinion, other than Brent Venables, and whoever's dealing with LSU's defense down there, and then me, myself, personally, just being biased because I know a couple coaches on the staff. Other than Alabama, LSU, and Clemson's defense, they have the best defense in college football. They have the best defensive mind in college football up there in Madison, Wisconsin, named Jim Leonard. I would stand by that. Jim Leonard's a hell of a defensive coach. He's a hell of a coach.
Yeah, they don't get 5-star recruits to go to Wisconsin.
Well, I mean, it's hard, man. You freeze your balls off.
It is. That's what I'm saying.
Wisconsin. Shit. I lived in Wisconsin in 2016. We didn't get a 70-degree weather day until like July the 6th. It's ridiculous, man.
I love it.
It's terrible, man. With that being said, let's go into this NFL draft talk / mock draft. The way this mock draft is going to work, I'm going to take 5 picks. Steven's going to take 5 picks because we can talk about this all day, but we want. I'm going to take 5 picks. He's going to take 5 picks. We're going to break down. I'm giving you the top 20 picks here. We're not going to do 20 picks, and then I'm going to give you the names of some guys who came out and some guys who have declared, some guys who came out / declared for the draft, and some guys who are coming back to school. We're basically going to use the pool of people that I have here on this list, people. So if y'all see some people out here, Facebook Live viewers, Instagram Live viewers, and y'all want to put some names, then okay, we might put them in the conversations of our mock draft, but that's not guaranteed. So here we go. The top 20 picks of the NFL draft this year: the Cincinnati Bengals, the Washington Redskins, the Detroit Lions, the New York Giants, the Miami Dolphins, the Chargers, the Panthers, the Cardinals, the Jacksonville Jaguars, the Cleveland Browns, the New York Jets, the Oakland Raiders, Indianapolis Colts, Tampa Bay Bucks, the Denver Broncos, the Atlanta Falcons, the Dallas Cowboys, the Miami Dolphins from Pittsburgh, the Oakland Raiders from Chicago, and the Jacksonville Jaguars from the Rams. So, the top 10 picks: Cincinnati, Washington, Detroit with the 3rd, New York with the 4th, Miami with the 5th, Chargers with the 6th, the Carolina Panthers with the 7th, the Arizona Cardinals with the 8th, the Jacksonville Jaguars with the 9th, and the Cleveland Browns with the 10th pick. So, my pick for the first, I'm taking the first pick, and with my first pick in the NFL draft, in the 2020 NFL draft, the Cincinnati Bengals select Joe Burrow from LSU, arguably one of the top 3 or top 4 most decorated quarterbacks in college level of all time, but the difference is he can really play quarterback for real. So we'll see. I think him plus a serviceable, if not getting better offensive line in Cincinnati. They got some young pieces that are starting to come together. And CeeDee Lamb definitely already came out for the draft. His name's CeeDee Lamb. But with that being said, I'm going to take Joe Burrow with the number 1 pick because him, plus a good O-line, plus a happy Joe Mixon that's a really underrated running back, A.J. Green, and I think the most underrated second receiver in the NFL named Tyler Boyd, and potentially getting maybe 1 or 2 more years of a healthy Tyler Eifert, but I don't like that because he can't stay healthy. That's a shame. If he had ever been healthy, Jesus Christ, Tyler Eifert would have been a fucking...
You remember...
he was a problem.
Jordan Cameron.
Same way. Yeah, USC from the Browns and the Dolphins.
Yeah.
Couldn't stay healthy. Yeah.
Just absolute monsters though, when they were.
But with my first pick, I'm taking Joe Burrow.
So number 2, I think I have to go Chase Young. I thought maybe I would pull a little bit of an upset, maybe go Tua, because I'm not a big Dwayne Haskins fan. I don't think he's going to be the future there.
How are you not a Dwayne Haskins fan? He's lit. He threw 50 plus touchdowns at Ohio State. Y'all sleep. Dwayne, bro, when you make your first Pro Bowl, man, make sure you holler at Untied Jordan.
Yeah, make sure you holler at me.
He ain't a fan of you, bro.
It ain't gonna happen.
I'm rocking with
But
you.
I think they picked Chase Young. The big reason, because of guys like Daniel Jones and Carson Wentz and Dak Prescott. They can get out on the edge. They need a guy to contain that. And there's tough running backs in that. Miles Sanders, Ezekiel Elliott ain't going nowhere. Saquon Barkley. You need guys that have speed and that can contain that edge and set the edge, as well as get to the quarterback at elite level. And we've all seen Chase Young do that incredibly at Ohio State.
Cool.
So
Okay, cool. Third pick. The Detroit Lions select Derrick Brown III out of Auburn University. Why? Because Damon Snacks Harrison is considering retirement. Derrick Brown III is the closest run stopper that we have coming out of college to Derrick Brown. I can't wait to see him in the NFL. Steven? The fourth pick is the New York Giants.
This was a tough one for me, but I think I'm gonna go Jerry Jeudy. I was gonna say Okuda from Ohio State, the cornerback, but I think they want to give Daniel Jones that weapon to work with, and they can work on the defense the next year. Give him time to develop with Jeudy. I think it'll work pretty great, honestly.
We good.
Okay,
yeah.
And then obviously he's an incredible talent. I know a lot of people. I personally think CeeDee Lamb might be a better all-around receiver at this point, but Judy's speed is such a high ceiling. It gives him that X factor that's incredible.
I don't disagree with you, but check this out. I would be willing to bet that CeeDee Lamb runs faster than Jerry Jeudy does at the Combine or for his pro day. But here's the kicker. Jerry Jeudy is quicker and he has better separation at the top of a route than CeeDee Lamb does. Here's CeeDee Lamb's game. Catch the ball, get your little ass off me, I'm going to scope.
Yeah, that yards after catch is what impresses me so much about
Would you agree
CeeDee
with
Lamb.
that? Would you agree with that stance? Though I think that's fair.
Yeah, I think Jeudy gets a little bit more separation before the catch, and CeeDee Lamb gets it after the catch.
Okay, I can go for it.
It seems like Jeudy
Jerry Jeudy's catching the ball because he's open, and then CeeDee Lamb catches the ball with a guy on him and it's like, look, get off me.
Yeah.
I get exactly what you're saying. All right, we're saying
It seems like every time Jerry Jeudy catches a pass, he's 15 yards past everybody and just walks in the end zone.
I agree with that. I agree with that wholeheartedly. Because of the fact that I want to get through this list, we got a national championship slight preview and a little bit to talk about the 1AA Natty this Saturday out in Frisco, Texas. We're going to keep it with a top 5. My 5th pick, the Miami Dolphins. The Miami Dolphins with the 5th pick select Tua Tagovailoa out of the University of Alabama. You have no quarterback, Miami. You can have
Josh Rosen, man.
You have no quarterback, Miami. So with you having no quarterback, Miami, what you can do to put yourself in a position to win, Miami, is you can have a guy like, I don't know, Chad Henne or a guy like Matt Schaub come down there for a year, maybe 2 years, or you can go get
magic.
Or you can go get a guy like Phillip Rivers or somebody like that. Have him come in for a year or two, train Tua, get him on point, have him be what he needs to be, and then 2 years from now, Tua's got a perfectly healthy hip and he lets it go. Or you draft Tua Tagovailoa and you rush him back after next year You rush him back because he ain't gonna play no football this fall 2020. I highly doubt that. I don't think he'll be in training camp on the field with them boys. He has like a pelvic wall fracture. Like, it's ridiculous. But I feel like, or you guys take Tua Tagovailoa and you find a way to rush him out there too fast and you fuck away a great pick. Excuse my language, but I'm just saying. So with my pick, like I said, the 5th pick, I'm taking Tua Tagovailoa. Now, because of the fact it's this last pick, I'm gonna give you a safe pick, Steven. I'm gonna give you a safe pick that I think, and we'll just shoot at it for a second. A really, really safe pick to me is a guy named Tristan Wirfs, Wirfs. He's already declared for the draft. He's a senior. I don't think he's an underclassman. He's the best offensive lineman at the University of Iowa. Last time the Miami Dolphins had a guy who was a really, really top-tier draft pick from the Big Ten was a brother named Jake Long, who was a really, really good offensive lineman for them before he started to get hurt and he started to be on the back end of his career with the St. Louis Rams. So, excuse me, y'all got Jake Long after the Rams. My apologies, right? No, Jake Long was the number one pick of the Miami Dolphins. Then he went to the Rams after the fact. Yeah, I thought I was right. Okay, so that's my opinion on that. I feel like a guy like Tristan Wirfs from Iowa, my opinion, or excuse me, let me go back. Not Tristan Wirfs from Iowa. Take a guy like Andrew Thomas from Georgia. He's going to be a top 10 pick. He's the best offensive lineman on the board at 5. Take him. You know, build differently.
I think he's going to go to the Cardinals. I think they really want to protect their investment in Kyler Murray, which is also tied to.
He better go to Arizona this series about that. You're right about that shit.
Kyle Kingsbury, I think him and Kyler Murray are tied at the hip, and I think that would be a good pick for
with
him.
The Carolina Panthers being at the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7th pick. These are and it's just because we're in Charlotte, 5 players I think the Panthers can end up having. They could end up having a guy like CeeDee Lamb. They can end up having a guy like Jerry Jeudy. They can end up having a guy like, I don't know, Jeffrey Okudah. They do need a corner.
I think that's what they do.
They can end up with a guy like Andrew Thomas.
Or Delpit.
Grant Delpit from LSU, another great safety. Be back there with his big brother Eric Reed.
Or Boston.
Either one, because Trey Boston bought out more than Eric Reed did on the back end of the season, so I agree with you on that. But I like Andrew Thomas in Carolina because y'all need O-line bad.
I agree.
Carolina needs O-line like I need a glass of water.
I don't know if he'll be there, but I think it's a good pick.
I think Andrew Thomas will be there at 7 because you got to think about it. When you look at when you look at the draft board, you look at need first, then you take the best player on the board. The best player on the board conversation it pops up at 3, but they got Taylor Decker in Detroit, so they don't need a tackle. Andrew Thomas is not going to be a guard. The kid's going to be a left tackle. They say he's the next Jason Peters.
Ooh, that's a tall.
But then again, though, that's a tall glass. That's a tall glass of water to drink. But by the same token, nobody knew Jason Peters was going to be a league. Was going to be an NFL left tackle until 3 years in after they converted him to tight end. So there you go. But with the rest of the guys that came out that we didn't mention, Monte Greenard from Florida, Kenneth Murray, the linebacker from Oklahoma, Devin Asiasi, tight end from Michigan. I think he started in Michigan, then he transferred to UCLA. So I want to say Devin Asiasi from UCLA. KJ Hamler from Michigan. Excuse me, KJ Hamler from Penn State. J.K. Dobbins from Ohio State. I would love Philly to take J.K. Dobbins. I really would.
Y'all need him.
We don't.
I like Miles Sanders a lot. I might just be biased.
But there's only one guy. Nobody in the NFL that's good only has one running back. It's facts. Nobody in the NFL that's good has one running back. Big facts. CeeDee Lamb came out. Jerry Jeudy, we already talked about him. Donovan Peoples-Jones from the University of Michigan. Jedrick Willis, a guard named Mutai from Fresno Big Oos. A guy named Guidry, cornerback from Utah. Jeffrey Okudah from Ohio State. Cesar Ruiz, who is the number 1... Coming back, guys, for the second hour of the show. Cesar Ruiz from the University of Michigan, Chase Young from Ohio State, DeAndre Swift from Georgia, and Jonathan Taylor from Wisconsin, who was the first running back to go back-to-back to have multiple 2,000-yard rushing seasons since Troy Davis, 95-96 on Iowa State.
Only 3-year player to rush for 6,000 yards in college football history. Why that's so? He averaged 2,000 yards a season.
Right.
at Wisconsin.
Right.
When everyone knew they were getting the ball. It's not like they had Joe Burrows back there to take the pressure off of them.
Right.
It was Jonathan Taylor's team.
Facts.
And the dude he's been one of my favorite players to watch over the last 3 years, man.
Facts.
His balance is incredible. Like, my favorite thing least favorite tackle that running backs, for some reason, hadn't figured out how to break for a long time is that shoestring where they swipe your foot.
Mm-hmm.
When Jonathan Taylor feels that coming better than I think anyone I've ever seen.
He does just a little
he just high steps, just a little whoop, and then he's gone again. And I'm so impressed with the dude. I love watching.
Yeah, he's a great player. He's definitely a great player. He's definitely a great player for sure. Guys who are coming back this year, a receiver from Memphis, last name Coxey. He had I want to say he had like 986 yards, like 64 catches and like 8 touchdowns on the year for Memphis. Richard LeCount from the University of Georgia, DB number 2 for the guys who watch a lot of Georgia football. Wade, I want to say Trevin Wade is his name. Number 24, the DB from Ohio State that got knocked out of the game for targeting Trevor Lawrence.
Okay.
Dylan Moses. Now, Dylan Moses would have been the first outside linebacker taken off the board this year. The first middle linebacker taken in the draft this year would have been Dylan Moses if he would have been healthy and played out this year. Alabama would have been in the playoffs if it had been for Dylan Moses. He's coming back for another year, so we'll see. Because that was huge. That was humongous for those. That was otherworldly for them. The fact that he decided to come back to school. Of that importance of that.
I think their backup middle linebacker is projected to go in the second round.
Yeah.
At Alabama.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So,
they just keep rolling them out, man.
Right.
Just keep rolling them out.
Last names Kennedy and Young, 2 offensive linemen from Kentucky and the University of Tennessee, respectively, are coming back. Baron Browning, who is the middle linebacker number 5 for the Ohio State Buckeyes, he's coming back. Alex Leatherwood, the left tackle for the University of Alabama, is coming back to school as well. And another really interesting guy coming back to school, Trevin Wallace. Trevin Wallace was a 2018 finalist for this Biletnikoff Trophy. This past year, he had like 800 some odd yards, 12 touchdowns on I think one he had like 9 touchdowns, 864 yards or something like that on like 40 or 50 catches. Kind of banged up, so he's trying to come back and have a really, really great year on the back end. Marvin Wilson, first team All ACC defensive tackle. He's coming back to school. I think Marvin Wilson potentially will be the number 1 D tackle off the board next year, and that's saying a lot because Derek Brown put out together such a great level or such a great pedestal to want to I guess you could say want to aspire to, want to get to achieve. But you, my boy Marv, go crazy, little bro. God bless you, man. Best of luck to you, and I wish you well this season, my boy. The best D tackle in the country. Play like it. You know what's going on, my boy. That's my boy right there, man. Boy Marvin Wilson. I hate the Seminoles, though. You know what's up with me. You know where I'm at with it. So, I ain't worried about you that day. But other than that, we ain't too tough worried about it. But Ian Book is coming back for Notre Dame. Really, really interesting prospect here of what they could do with having him here. And he was a really interesting prospect to the NFL because really efficient with the ball, didn't turn it over a lot. Doesn't pop on screen, doesn't show you anything like, oh wow, he's this, oh wow, he's that, but very serviceable. In my opinion, he's got a chance of being one of the better pro quarterbacks to ever come out of Notre Dame. Because if you notice, pro quarterbacks from Notre Dame,
there's one.
Make my click. Never work. They never work.
One Hall of Famer, I believe, in Joe Montana. That's it.
Joe Montana. It's almost like Notre Dame quarterback playing in the NFL so bad Joe Montana doesn't even count.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I think he says his high school when he does
the
the pre-game announcements. I think he's one of those players that says I'm from Palomino High School. I think is where he went. Or something like that.
Exactly. I ain't go to Notre Dame. I went to that school. Exactly.
No, but no, I agree. I think Ian Book could be good.
Right.
He kind of reminds me of like Kirk Cousins a little bit coming out.
I got you.
He's not the strongest arm, but he's tough and he makes good throws.
Right.
Good decisions.
We're making really, really excellent time here. Once again, shout out to Hugo. Podcasting studio here in Charlotte, North Carolina. Every time y'all see us here, it's a studio with these headphones on, talking into these really, really great mics. This is who we use. This is where we go to be able to do our thing. So once again, shout out to them. They're based off of Remount Road if y'all want to come get podcast training, etc. Or you can just contact me because I also have podcast training that I do now. So you guys can reach out to me on the back end for that. Myself or Steven, as far as for that's concerned. Beyond that, we got about six quick hot takes, and then I'm gonna shoot it over to Steve for kicking it old school today because it's really, really dope kicking old school, and I want to have enough time to talk about it. So here we go. Andre Drummond has been talked about getting traded to the Atlanta Hawks for a first-round pick over the last 3-4 days. The most frustrating sports fan in sports is a Detroit Pistons sports fan. I'm sick of being a Pistons fan. I'm this close to being somebody else's fan of their team. I'm from South Carolina, so I'm probably gonna go to the Hornets or something soon. I'm tired of being a Pistons fan.
To pile on the bad news for Jordan, it looks like Blake Griffin, who's only been able to play 18 games this season, is thinking about having season-ending knee surgery.
We're not gonna make the playoffs. I don't care about Blake Griffin. I don't give a damn about Blake Griffin.
With Blake Griffin, you'd make the playoffs.
I don't disagree with that, but I don't give a damn about Blake Griffin. He ain't the future. Blake Griffin's old. Andre Drummond he's our old friend. He's everything to us.
He's the youngest player drafted in NBA history.
Say that again?
Andre Drummond's the youngest player ever drafted.
Yeah,
so he's been in the league
like 18 years
for 5 or 6 years already. And I mean, if you look at his rebounding numbers, they're incredible.
Yeah. He's the most underrated rebounder in basketball. I'm willing to argue with anybody. He led the league in rebounding the last 2 years, people.
Yeah.
Stop playing with my boy Jerry.
He's good.
Stop playing with Jerry.
And that, honestly, that's a great addition to the Hawks' young talent with what they have with Trae Young, John Collins.
Look at my face, bro.
Herbert.
Look at my face, bro. That don't do me no good. I don't give a damn about Atlanta Hawks getting motherfucking.
Hey, but D Rose looked good last night.
Sorry.
D Rose looked good last night.
Man, I don't care.
The Lakers had 20 blocks, but D Rose looked good last night.
I don't give a damn about that, man. We need to keep Andre in Philly. I don't give a damn about that.
Y'all do. Yeah, I agree.
Kevin Love said he wants out of Cleveland, but he loves his teammates because he's dealing with a bunch of young, hard-headed guys who don't know basketball like he do. The team said, "Hey, I'll find you." Kevin Love said, "Hey, I got a bunch of money. Find me. I don't care about none of that." I respect you, Kevin Love. You just keeping it real. You want to go be competitive. You want to go be competitive, and you one of the best big men in basketball. Like over 6'10", just overall talent. Kevin Love can shoot it. He can score it. He can distribute the basketball. He can play defense. He can block shots. He can rebound. You feel me? He a good teammate. He a good leader. You feel me?
It's been very tough to watch Kevin Love in Cleveland with LeBron. No. I mean, because his talents weren't utilized as much as they should.
A lot of players go play with LeBron and their talent don't get properly utilized because LeBron recirculates your energy and he puts it into a better place as in a position for the team.
Now I think now
that's not an argument. That's just a comment.
No, I know what you're saying. And it's 100% true. I mean, Anthony Davis seems to be the only player whose numbers have gotten better with LeBron. Right. But that's also because he is the most talented player to ever play with LeBron. And he's
circumventing the whole offense to AD.
Yeah.
While all the defensive attention is on LeBron. It's genius. It's genius.
Kevin Love, I don't know if people realize this, he was a walking first half double-double when he was in Minnesota. Right. The dude got out of bed and 8 rebounds. That's all he did.
Right.
And probably the best big man shooter for the first 4 or 5 years of his career, as far as percentage-wise in the league.
I can go for that. Jimmy Butler mutually agrees to leave Jordan Brand. He's probably going to sign one of them Chinese companies because they're throwing out that bag right now. They're throwing out that bag for them Chinese, for them NBA player sports, of them NBA player sponsorships to wear their shoes in game. North Carolina Tar Heels basketball. Y'all lost to Georgia Tech the other night. Cole Anthony ain't there.
Oh, so bad.
You know.
And we had our second high recruit towards ACL too. So
yeah, that sucks. But then by the same token,
for Carolina right now.
Roy Williams just moved into fourth place all time on the wins list, so that's good for y'all.
Yeah, we got one of the best coaches ever.
Facts. I definitely agree with that, but y'all got one of the worst teams in college basketball right now as far as these big time programs, so that makes me way more happier.
I haven't seen a Carolina team this bad in my lifetime, people. The last one I remember us not making the tournament was Bill Cunningham right before Roy Williams, and those teams could score points. They weren't great defense. They
y'all
could score
had a couple
points.
of teams with Roy Williams and didn't go to the tournament?
No, we haven't. He's made it every year. Oh. He's made the tournament, and he hasn't made it far every year, but he's made the tournament.
What year did he come to Chapel Hill?
2004. No, I'm sorry, 2008.
No,
actually 2004. Yeah, because it was the year before the 05 championship.
Okay, I can go for that. Let me see. Gonzaga, they got Jalen Suggs to commit to them, a 6'4" point guard. He's the 6th overall player in the country. He's the best recruit Gonzaga ever had or has ever signed or got to commit. Baylor, Georgia Tech, Iowa State, Minnesota, and Marquette were all in on the kid. He chose to go to Gonzaga because they play in the weak-ass West Coast Conference. They're going to be really, really good for the duration of his career, which is going to allow him to be able to get the type of notoriety that he needs to be able to get to the NBA from the Pac, not the Pac-12, from the West Coast Conference, being he's playing at Gonzaga, which is a school that like doesn't get any real challenge until March because they play a bunch of slack-head college basketball programs.
6'3" to 6'4" and taller point guards are all the rage right now.
Right.
Last couple of years they've been going out like gangbusters between Lonzo and Markelle Fultz and Ja Morant.
Right.
And he could be the next in the line of that. He's super athletic.
Fair enough. A little bit of hockey talk for a minute. The ESPN Power Rankings came out this week, as they do every week for the hockey rankings. You got the Washington Capitals first, the St. Louis Blues, who are the defending Stanley Cup champs, second. The Boston Bruins, they're third. The New York Islanders, that are led by Rick Tavares or John Tavares. They're led by him, so they're really, really good. And the Pittsburgh Penguins are top 5, and they still got Sidney Crosby and Evgeny Malkin, but now they're the 2 oldest players on the team. Sidney's 32 and Evgeny's 33, and everybody's like 25.
Well, I think Chara's. Oh no, I'm thinking they have Boston. Wow.
Well, no. But I'm saying, but he's a old. But those are 3 guys, along with like Ovechkin and like Ryan Miller. Like those are guys when like I was in high school. Type shit, and like I can remember hearing who they were and knowing who they were. And it's like I remember those guys. Like they were first name based guys. Well, even not in high school, but like even college, they were first name based guys then.
And they're,
you know what I mean. So I remember
for sure.
I remember that.
Yeah, you're right. I'm looking at their roster right now. It's nothing but young
guys. Guys I don't even know their name. Speaking of old guys in hockey, what was I about to say? Ilya Kovalchuk, the former all-time great for the Atlanta Thrashers, he finally came back from the KHL over in Russia. He signed an end-of-the-year contract with the Montreal Canadiens. Just a name drop because as far as Southeastern hockey, nobody knows anything. Nobody pays attention to the Carolina Hurricanes like that, and nobody pays attention to the Florida Panthers like that. But people used to pay a lot of attention to the Atlanta Thrashers when they were in Atlanta. They were a really, really good hockey club. So, like, I kind of liked them from a distance. And I used to love their colorway. It was like an Arizona red and orange with like a dark blue and like a white. Okay. It was really, really nice. Okay. It was really, really nice colorway for sure.
I'd throw Tampa Bay Lightning in there's about the only Southern team.
Yeah,
and that's because they've won a championship in the last 5 years.
Facts. With Martin San Louis and all the boys way back in the day. But they
won. No,
I'm saying they had one with Stamkos too. Yeah, but like that. But like Nikolai Habibulin, Martin San Louis, and Vinny LeCavalier. NHL, oh my God, the video games. So many hours played with those guys on that video game. Kamaru Usman and Conor McGregor are starting to develop some Twitter beef in the MMA world. So you know what I'm saying. So that'll be interesting to see how that plays out.
That'll
be interesting to see how that plays. I think that'll be that's a big time thing waiting to happen.
But I don't know if McGregor wants that smoke this late in his career.
Nah, man, McGregor won't smoke with everybody. He just got in the ring with Floyd Mayweather. He got in the ring with the greatest boxer of the last 15 years. He won't smoke with everybody standing up.
But to his credit, Mayweather's the greatest defensive boxer of all time. You're not going to walk in there and afraid you're going to get knocked out in the first round. Usman? He broke Covington's jaw.
True, but guess what though? It's all about situation. You know what I'm saying?
Like, and I also don't think he'll strike with McGregor. I think he'll get him to the ground.
That's what it's all about. You know what I mean? So that's just that's how it is. But
and just a little shout out, Cerrone and McGregor are fighting next weekend.
Right.
So y'all just heads up for that.
I got Conor McGregor knocking him out in the first round, and he's trying to get to this Usman thing. I really feel like that. A couple things. We'll review the national championship this upcoming Monday because it'll be that weekend. The Division I AA National Championship of College Football will be in Frisco, Texas this weekend. The North Dakota State Bison, they play the James Madison Dukes. Very last thing before we get into kicking it old school, Zlatan Ibrahimovic, little soccer news to end up this part of the podcast. He's going back to Italy. He's going to AC Milan. They won the 09 Serie A. That's the name of the first division of Italian soccer, Series A. That's what it means in English. So he's going to Serie A. He's an 09 title holder. He was at one of their rivals, AC Milan's rival, Inter Milan, for 06 to 09. He had he won 3 back-to-back Serie A's, where he ran Italy from 06 to 09 with their rival. He's also been a team guy from 2010 to 2015. He was on a team that won 5 consecutive league titles in 2 different leagues on 2 different teams. He was a part of arguably the best all-time, one of the best club rosters all-time. 2010 FC Barcelona. Him, Lionel Messi, Andres Iniesta, Gerard Piqué. I mean, it was just ridiculous, like the amount of players that they had on the team back then. And other than that, we will now kick it old school.
Ibrahimovic maybe, if you ask Zlatan, Zlatan is most entertaining person in the world. He's the best soccer player ever. Just if y'all want to just have fun for 20 minutes, just go look up Ibrahimovic's interviews. They're hilarious. The dude has never called himself, he's never said I in his life. He is Zlatan, and he calls himself Zlatan.
Right.
And it's so funny, man. He said,
how he kick, but hey, he kick it like that, cause hey, he kick it like that.
He's real. Like that. He's so good. He came to LA.
For those who don't know more about Zlatan Ibrahimovic as a soccer player, he's a LeBron James of the soccer world. What I mean by that is this: he's bigger than everybody. He's super dominant, but he can score like from anywhere, like close up chip shots, long distance strikes. Like he can kick it.
One of the only goals I really remember was
he's my favorite soccer player.
He had a 45-yard bicycle kick in a game and drilled it.
That's what I'm saying, bro. He's a beast. He's a beast.
I mean, he really. And when he came to LA, he just goes, "You're welcome, LA. Zlatan is here."
Oh yeah. By the way, guys, NFL playoff for next week. Minnesota at San Francisco on Saturday, 4:35. I would assume that Seattle and Green Bay are going to play that night because I don't think they're going to cross-reference.
No, they did this year. They got.
Because if you notice,
they got Ravens
AFC was
on Saturday.
Okay, cool. Bet. So Tennessee and Baltimore Saturday night. Yep. Minnesota and San Francisco at 4 o'clock Saturday afternoon. We got Seattle Green Bay on Sunday. Right? Yep. Seattle Green Bay on Sunday. Thank you, my boy. Seattle Green Bay on Sunday at 6:40, and then you got the 3:05 kickoff between Houston and Kansas City on Sunday. I got Green Bay, one-word response now, Steve. I got Green Bay, Kansas City, Baltimore, and San Francisco.
Okay. I got San Fran, Tennessee, Chiefs, and I think
Tennessee over Baltimore?
I do.
You got Tennessee over Baltimore?
I do.
Man, please.
I like their defense better. I think Jarrell Casey's going to... Casey's going to dominate.
Trust, man. Y'all asleep, man.
I like the Titans, man. I do.
I mean, I'm not knocking you. I'm not knocking you.
They're my upset pick.
But guess what? I'm going to tell you something I bet you didn't know. The last defensive coordinator for Tennessee before Wink Martindale was...
For Tennessee?
No, the last defensive coordinator for Baltimore before Wink Martindale was Dean Pease, the defensive coordinator for the Tennessee Titans.
Okay.
There you go. Gotcha, my boy. There you go, man.
I don't know. I got a feeling about... I just think they're going to dominate time of possession. And I know that's not something you say against the Ravens.
How is Tennessee going?
I know.
So Tennessee's going to dominate time of possession because they're not going to be able to tackle Derrick Henry. Is that what you're telling me? And they're going to run the ball?
Essentially.
All right.
I think A.J. Brown has a big day,
man,
too.
Uncle Earl, what's happening? Y'all know what's going on, Earl. Earl T not going. Derrick Henry, man, they're going to be on Derrick Henry. Man, they're going to be on Derrick Henry something vicious. We're like 28 minutes before we got to get out of here.
Alrighty. And unfortunately, I do think the Packers are going to win, but that's a scary game to me. The Seahawks always play us
Just make sure y'all don't. Just make sure when y'all get to overtime, y'all don't do what Matt Hasselbeck did. Don't take the ball and tell the people to score.
Or or pull another Brandon Bostic and just have a onside kick bounce off your helmet when it's about to fall in Jordy Nelson's hands.
Yeah, that was absolutely retarded. Fact.
So let's go kicking it old school so I don't start crying on air.
Yeah.
Dude. I had a sinus infection.
Excuse me. Hold on, stop. Terrible word choice. That was boneheaded. Excuse me for using the R word, Janoris Jenkins. But like I said, that was very boneheaded. I'm
gonna give him a lips. Mm-hmm. I'm not special. It's all good. So what I want to do this year for kicking it old school, because we don't know. This could be Tom Brady's last game in a Patriots uniform. If I had to bet...
For what we got this week for kicking it? Okay, cool.
Yep. Tom Brady. I just wanted to talk about... I don't think people really understand how great this dude is. To me, I think he's the second. I think he's had the second greatest career. That's only because I put individual awards above team awards like Super Bowls. When I'm talking about a single player. Now, their impact on the game, Tom Brady and Peyton Manning, it's similar, but it's really not. Tom Brady has been not just the face of the league, but an incredible ambassador for the league. The dude has... His only scandal is that they think he might have been involved in deflating footballs, but every single quarterback has admitted that we mess with the footballs before the game. Aaron Rodgers pumps us up to 15 pounds of pressure because he thinks, it might not be true, but he thinks he's the only person with strong enough hands to grip it, especially in the cold. So, to me, Tom Brady...
That ball squeezes on you in the cold, so that makes a lot of sense by AR-12 with that one.
And Tom Brady has been the consummate professional for 20 years now. And what's crazy about his career is how it started. The dude's in better shape than he was on his draft day 20 years ago. He runs a faster 40 now than he did on his draft day. And he was drafted at 199th overall. We're talking about a 6th round guy. He was not touted coming out of Michigan. He was not seen as the next, Drew Bledsoe even.
They didn't think he was as good as Brian Griese when he came out.
They didn't think he... And for
people
who don't know...
quarterback in Michigan after Brady.
Oh, okay.
Before Brady.
Yeah. And for people who don't know, he didn't walk into the starting job either. He not just supplanted Drew Bledsoe. He supplanted Drew Bledsoe, who had got the Patriots to a Super Bowl 3 years before that. And it's kind of with the Alex Smith and Colin Kaepernick thing, where in that situation, I think Kaepernick was a slightly better quarterback at the time. But in this situation, I think Drew Bledsoe was a slightly better quarterback when it happened, when he won the job.
I remember that game. Mo Lewis from the New York Jets he knocked
his shoulder got messed up.
He knocked the hell out of Drew Bledsoe, knocked his ass into next week, and then Tom Brady came. I'm like, who the hell is Tom Brady?
No.
I'm like,
you know now though.
I'm like, man, that white boy look trash.
And then and his rookie year he didn't play at all. I think a little bit of garbage time at the end of the season. But Bledsoe goes down like week 13, I believe, in the 2001 season, and Tom Brady comes in. They don't lose a game for the rest of the season. They win the Super Bowl. Right. They beat St. Louis Rams, the greatest show on turf. They held it to 17 points. Right. Now, I know that's not a Tom Brady thing, but he got the job done. He did enough to get Vinatieri in the position to win the game. And that was his first Super Bowl win. Right. We go on to the next Super Bowl win. I mean, for people that don't understand just how dominant this guy's been, okay, he's been to 13 AFC Championship games in the last 20 years. He's won 13 divisions, had 13 buys. 17 division titles in that time.
In 20 years?
In 20, he has 17 division titles.
This is like the first... Didn't they win the division this year?
Yeah. This is 17th. I think this is his 13th in a row. Or 12th in a row. That's
why they hosted the wild card. There you go.
Yep. And but I mean, they've just been so incredibly good, and he's been so consistent. I've never thought Brady was the best at one thing. I thought he's extremely good at everything. Except, I think his best ability is his work ethic. Because you don't get from 199th to widely considered the GOAT. I put Peyton Manning, but a lot of people consider him the GOAT. And I got him second. It's not like I got him way down on my list like some crazy person. Right. But he's done things that other people will never do again. I mean, this type of dominance in a conference, in a division. There have only been 4 quarterbacks in the AFC since Tom Brady got in the league to make it to a Super Bowl. Right. Brady, Manning, Roethlisberger, Flacco. That's it. So I mean, anyone that wants to try to take anything away from Brady is they're crazy people. So his second Super Bowl, he gets to the Panthers. Threw for 354 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 pick. They won 32-29 once again. Game-winning drive got them into position for Vinatieri to kick the field goal. 2 years later, the next year, he did it again against Philly. 236 yards, 2 touchdowns, 110 QBR.
One of his 2 touchdowns was to Mike Vrabel on a fucking tight end.
It was. Just
How
beat
you don't know?
Brady and Belichick.
How you gonna cover the tight end option, bro? Like, he's in here on the game. He plays linebacker. He's gonna block? No, bro. Mike Vrabel was 235 pounds. He ran a corner around and scored.
And so that was 2004.
Crazy, bro.
We're up to now his 3 Super Bowls. He was not considered a top 5 quarterback at the time when he won those 3 Super Bowls. It was a defensive-led team. Not that he wasn't a big part of it. He wasn't extremely important. But that team was led by guys like Willie McGinnis and Richard Seymour and Rodney Harrison, Ty Law. Yeah. I mean, Asante Samuel. These guys were incredible. And they are what propelled that team to be great. Tom Brady was a game manager at that point. And then he got hurt. Or I shouldn't say he got hurt. In 2005, they changed offensive coordinators to Charlie Weiss. This totally changed Tom Brady's career. What people don't get is that he went from being that game manager to taking that next step and being a top 5 quarterback every single year, and has been since until, I would say this year he's probably fallen out of the top 5, but not by much. So these were also the years he lost to the Giants. So 06-07, they lost 14-17, 266 yards and a touchdown. That was the David Tyree catch, the Eli Manning getting away from 4 defenders and then just throwing up a prayer, and it got answered. 2011, 2010, 4 years later, he went back to the Super Bowl. Another loss versus the Giants. This was, he had 276 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a pick. This was the year when Eli Manning once again made an incredible play. I think the best play of his career, the throw down the left sideline to Mario Manningham on 3rd and long.
Right.
Perfect. I mean, people don't understand how hard that throw is because you have a 3rd defender in the sideline, not to mention the safety coming over the top, the guy underneath. It was a perfect throw. I think Eli Manning's best moment, in my opinion. But the reason I wanted to talk about those two, and I know it's not a shining light on Tom Brady's career, but those 2 front sevens for the Giants were so loaded. It showed that that's what it took to beat Brady. We're talking about the 07 season when they were undefeated with Randy Moss, and Tom Brady threw for 50 touchdowns for the first time in NFL history. We're talking about a team that was beating teams 40-0 for fun. They would be in the 4th quarter, be up 4 touchdowns.
We talking about the New England team right now? You're talking about with that, that prolific offense. Okay, go ahead. The perfect season, and it took a Giants team with 2 Hall of Famers in the front, in Strahan or maybe I guess 1 Hall of Famer with Strahan and human era, Justin Tuck, John Beeson. Justin Tuck down the road to be a Hall of Famer because of how great of a man he's been to the NFL.
I like that.
He's really good. Dude.
I like Justin Tuck a lot.
Like post career, he's doing so much for the NFL. It's freaking ridiculous.
Antonio Pierce, guys like that. Their front sevens both of those years were absolutely dominant. Then a couple years he wins versus Seattle in 2014. Of course, everyone remembers the Malcolm Butler interception. A lot of people don't remember Javon Curse making one of the craziest catches in Super Bowl history on his back, hit 2 defenders, and just. It was a gift that fell into his arms.
That Jermaine Curse catch was crazy.
Yeah, I mean, it's just absolutely wild. His next Super Bowl was the one that was, I think, obviously, is probably going to be the most memorable. Right. He threw for 328 yards, 4 touchdowns, 2 picks in the Seattle game in a win. Next one was in 2016 in his win versus Atlanta. 43 of 62, 466 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception. If you remember, it was a pretty iconic interception. Right before the half, he threw the pick to Trufant, I believe, and then went and tried to tackle him. And it looked like their first half of the game. He dove, face planted, didn't even get close to touching the guy. It looked like the game was over.
That was like a microcosm of their first half in one play. Like,
and then he flipped the switch. The Patriots defense flipped the switch. Belichick flipped the switch, and it was over.
And then
not over, but
the Atlanta Falcons. Well, Matt Ryan cut his switch off.
Yeah, I mean that's
his mental switch.
Tom Brady didn't deserve this one. Of all the ones he's won, I would think the Atlanta one is the one he didn't deserve. But the reason
deserved it. he might show that comeback off from the offensive standpoint of what New England did.
So all I mean is, I think Atlanta lost that as opposed to.
Oh, Atlanta lost it for sure.
As opposed to the New England winning it. Sure. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because they make one more. They make one more play in that second half, and it's not that the Patriots wouldn't come back. It's that they wouldn't be able to. There just wouldn't have been enough time.
If you had got that first down, there would have been or kicked that field goal instead of going for it on that fourth down or whatever Atlanta did to mess it off. There would have been no way for you to be able to score 10 points in 2 minutes. That was like the analogy that went around after the game. Like you can't score 2 points, 11 points in 2 minutes. It's not possible.
They called 2 running plays right up the middle after Julio Jones makes maybe the most incredible catch I've seen in a Super Bowl on the sidelines. Right. They run up the middle 2 times. It's third and 15. And then they call a pass play on 3rd and 15. So Matt Ryan gets sacked, and then they're out of field goal range. Can't get the field goal to seal the game off.
Right.
But Tom Brady played incredible. The overtime drive he made, to get into overtime was absolute vintage Tom Brady.
I agree.
The next year he wins. The next year they lose to Philly, but he has 505 yards and 3 touchdowns. That's also the year he won the MVP. What's so incredible about this, people, the first year I mentioned is 2000-2001. So we're talking about, it's 20 years ago now. And quarterbacks have never done this kind of success over that period of time. They've had where, Peyton Manning was great for 10 years, but his playoff success was only that 1 year and then at the end. Tom Brady has been successful in the playoffs early in his career when he wasn't leaned on to be the guy, and also late in his career when he's obviously the guy.
When Tom Brady makes his comeback, and whether into being great again, whether it's with the Patriots or not, Tom Brady will have been able to say at that point that, hey man, I was great in the playoffs over 3 decades.
3 decades.
The 20s, the 2000s, the 2010s, and the 2020s. So,
and then last year, okay, we're going to talk about 13-3. He only had 262 yards and an interception. But the drive he made, throws he made to Gronk on that last drive to get the touchdown for Sony Michel.
I feel like this. I want to piggyback on what you just said. I feel like the play that he made in that game against the Rams showed Tom Brady in a microcosm. I've been studying y'all ass off. Y'all can't do nothing with me on the edge with my boy Gronk, with my big dog. I'm going to put him out there, and I'm throwing what we've been throwing to each other forever. Back shoulder fade, 2-step inside stem, go up, come back out on the outside, like take your inside foot, stem it back out, like stem the route back outside, backdoor shoulder. I'm going to put it about right here. Like, can't nobody catch it but you.
And Tom Brady's 6-3 in Super Bowls, most Super Bowls by a quarterback by 2.
Right.
Over Bradshaw and Montana.
Right.
And here's the thing, people, it's a team sport. So you don't win Super Bowls by yourself. You don't win anything by yourself in football. But that being said, he's took a team that was good, granted. Right. They made a Super Bowl, lost it to the Packers, go back. But they made a Super Bowl with Bledsoe, but he goes down and it looks like the franchise is done for the year. And Tom Brady does something that we'll never see again. As far as taking his moment, is saying, okay, this guy's hurt, this is my chance to get the starting job. And then turning that into a starting Hall of Famer, first ballot, no doubter, moonwalks into the Hall of Fame easily.
I feel like this, right? Tom Brady is easily the most. When Tom Brady leaves the game of football, he'll be the most underappreciated player to ever play. And what I mean by that is this. It's so many people that love to hate the man, but it's so many people that love to hate him. And here's the beauty of that. They love to hate Tom Brady. They love to hate him so bad. It's really easy to do. But then I have yet, in 10 years, 12 years, well, I'm not going to say 10, 12, yeah, 10, 12 years. I have yet the last 10 years to go around and be able to and meet somebody, and then they tell me they hate Brady, and then I bless them with this sports acumen I have, and then they leave with the conversation of understanding, Tom Brady ain't that bad. Like, he's so
there's no argument anymore.
He's so ridiculously like He's so ridiculously all-time level elite, bro. Like he's so elite he's elite to a point of being hated.
Yeah, like
that's a very rare space of that's a very rare space to arrive in as an athlete. That's like me
LeBron. It's the same with LeBron.
You talking about guys like Muhammad Ali. You talking about guys like LeBron James. You talking about guys like Michael Jordan. You talking about guys like Tiger Woods. You talking about guys like.
So half the people love you and the other half are jealous.
Yeah, but they hate you through the jealousy. You talking about guys like Cristiano Ronaldo, like Tom Brady. Tom Brady was like he's really. I can really say that I saw a global icon in the NFL in my time when I played football.
Yeah, we saw him develop the whole time, dude. I mean, and not just the dude's worth. He could have quit 10 years ago.
And I mean, being a global icon arrived at today's space. Nobody knew that. Like I said, when I was watching that 425 Jets New England game and he hit Buddy, he came in. I did not think Tom Brady was going to do all this. I didn't even like his swag because he had on Nike cleats with Adidas.
I mean, I think I was 6, so I was probably or 7. And I probably had no clue what was going on, but
yeah.
I mean, I remember watching Tom Brady in that first Super Bowl. I was at my dad's buddy's house, and I just remember saying, you know, this guy's real. Like, this dude obviously has the clutch chip.
But also, let me also say this for all-time greatness, Tom Brady. Tom Brady should forever, as long as Tom Brady lives, he should always send Christmas cards to Adam Vinatieri. Because if it wasn't for Adam Vinatieri making him some kicks, then this conversation could have been totally fucking different.
3 kicks. They've never...
3 kicks, thank you.
They're 9 Super Bowls. They have never won by more than one possession. They never lost by more than one possession either.
Right, but by the same token, that's the Patriots in a nutshell.
Exactly.
From an organizational standpoint, we win plenty of games by 1 point. We lose plenty of games by 1 point.
It's clutch quarterbacking and it's great coaching. That's what happens. You get those close victories. It's the guys who win the close victories are the great coaches and the great quarterbacks that have that thing at the that him, Peyton, Aaron, Brett Favre, Drew Brees, they all have or had or whatever you want to say. Shout out to another guy whose career is in a little bit of a flux right now, Drew Brees too. He's been great, and we don't know what's going to happen when Teddy Bridgewater is sitting behind him. His contract's up as well.
Teddy Bridgewater is he's set to make $29 to like $33 million a year on the open market. Teddy Bridgewater probably won't be in New Orleans next year, which makes it
unless Drew is gone.
I doubt Drew Brees ain't going nowhere.
I don't think so either. But
the NFC South is still so conquerable.
Oh, for sure,
right.
For sure.
Yeah,
but yeah, I mean, and we don't know where Tom Brady's going to go if he's going to retire.
Mind you, Drew Brees told people that night, I got to go back and look at the film and see what I got to get better at. If I'm not thinking about going to get better at nothing right now, granted, he probably said that subliminally because that's routine at this point in his life. But if he's thinking about going to get better, he's still going to play.
And that's going to get better after breaking the all-time touchdown record. That shows you what kind of obsession these great players have. And I think Tom might actually be the most obsessed of all of them. The dude has been worth...
I probably have to say Drew Brees.
He's been worth $400 million for the last 5 years. His wife is worth $500 million.
But that doesn't...
He hasn't played for money.
But those... I get what you're saying, but that comment doesn't necessarily speak to the fact that that passionate about the game. It's just one of those variables that you brought up is something that's not even his concern. His wife's money. You know?
No, it is. What I mean, he's content, so he doesn't have to worry about his after playing days. Does that make sense? So after he's done playing, he got money.
At this point, he's playing strictly for the passion.
Exactly, and I think he has been since the second loss to the Giants.
I get exactly what you're saying. I had to break it down my own way to understand it your way.
The Seattle people don't remember the Seattle year. They were 2-2 and got beat 42-14 by the Chiefs, and then Trent Dilfer. Other guys were coming on this saying Tom Brady's done, the Patriots are done, and he's won 2 Super Bowls and been to 3 since then. Right. Sorry, been to 4 since then.
Right.
I mean, I don't want to gush over the dude, but I got to be honest. Like it's incredible to watch this guy play, and he did not, and he might not be done. I don't think he's done. I think he may be done in New England. I'd like to see him in a Chargers uniform, but I think he's not going to fall off the cliff like Peyton did either because he hasn't had that big injury. He didn't have the neck injury.
At the end of the day, Tom Brady is who he is because Tom Brady believes in one thing, Tom Brady. He believes in the greatness of him as a person. He believes in his mind. He believes in his team of people. He makes money off of his brand and off of what his team of people tell him to put out there. So I guess in a nutshell, you know what I mean? Like,
I guess not eating sugar or drinking a beer for 12 years is a good way to go.
I'm just saying, I mean, it works for Tom Brady.
It does. It does.
That's
it for Kicking It Old School today, people. Okay, just wanted to love on Tom Brady a little bit. And hopefully it's not the end of his career, hopefully it is the end of his career in New England.
Well, I don't know. We'll see about all that. Cause
I'm just tired of the dynasty, man. I want a new one to emerge or parody every year.
But there's no more exciting Patriots football than to watch if the Patriots get Tom Brady back in 2020. That's must-see TV. I really hoping we come back there for 1 year because the jury is out that Bill Belichick ain't. The jury's out that y'all ain't rocking with each other for real. Y'all just been making it look good y'all been making it look good since Jimmy Garoppolo.
Oh yeah, that pissed Belichick off. So, people don't understand that wasn't Belichick's choice.
Right.
Tom Brady went to Robert Kraft.
He went to Robert Kraft and said, "Hey, Daddy, this man trying to get trying to
keep me out of the house, man.
Yeah, what's up, Pop?
It's fine. I built this house. Can't keep me out of this.
Daddy, this me, your house. This man just live here. What gonna do? That's how they went about that. But today's show, dedicate this show to David Stern, the NBA commissioner that passed away. Everybody in the NBA is wearing a black band, you know what I'm saying, like represent on his jersey.
Maybe the most iconic as far as what he transformed his sport into. Right. Probably the most iconic commissioner I can think of.
All I'll say is this to you, Mr. Stern. All I'll say is this to you, Commissioner Stern. I remember being a kid growing up, and like I used to watch the NBA on NBC. Like that NBA on NBC.
For a second, it took me a second to. I got you.
And the thing of it is like y'all used to have a cut commercial. The NBA is fantastic, Mr. Stern. Because of you, sir, you made the NBA fantastic. So I big time salute to you, big dog. We salute you. We appreciate what it is that you did for us. Because once again, the NBA, you wanted it to be fantastic, Mr. Stern. You made it fantastic, sir.
Marketed
for sure
a black sport to white people better than anybody who will ever do again.
Right.
Changed the face of marketing. Period with the Michael Jordan.
He allowed the NBA to go to the Olympics. Five NBA teams have come along. He went from 23 to 30 NBA teams, and he also made international basketball a thing with Drazen Petrovic and people like that back in the 80s. When he first came in. Exactly. Adidas, Divac, all the African influence with Manu and Dikembe and Hakeem, you feel me? All of that. So, facts.
And overseeing, I think, the best era in basketball, the 80s, between the Bird and Magic rivalry, the Celtics-Lakers 80s. That's really what I think was the ramp for what the NBA's become and what that it's here to stay forever. So that was not a done deal before David Stern.
Facts. So this has been episode 9 of the UntiedJordans podcast. Once again, my name is Jordan Mosley.
I'm Steven Untie.
This was brought to you today once again by Coach Jordan Football Consultation, Fuel Nutrition. This was also brought to you today as far as location-wise by Hugo of Charlotte, west side of Charlotte, Hugo Co-working Co-op. Once again, off of Remount Road near the Wilkinson Boulevard Walmart for reference. And we'll see you guys again this upcoming Monday.
All right.
11 a.m. The UntiedJordans podcast.
Just a quick announcement. We're going to have to change the day from Mondays.
Oh, true enough.
We'll let you know later on in the week exactly what.
Well, I guess I'll make this announcement now. My coworker, he's got another big time job, so you know what I'm saying, congratulations to you with that, my boy.
Thank you, buddy.
And the way that we're looking at it, I know that's right. The way we're looking at it now, guys, we're either going to be doing this Saturdays or Sundays. I will have information put out on the Instagram page for UntiedJordans. Well, the Instagram, my personal Instagram and the UntiedJordans Facebook, as well as my personal Facebook page and my personal Instagram page of information of when our next broadcast will be. But we will have a broadcast next week, but we're just trying to figure out the date. So once again, this has been Jordan Mosley along with my co-host Stephen Untie.